This morning we're going to be discussing what's being done in Wales in terms of policy, strategy, initiatives, and then we're going to be discussing charging and refuelling infrastructure and everything associated. And then this afternoon we're going to focus in a little bit more on the operational side, so vehicle tracking, the benefits of data, and how you can use that to inform your business decisions.
So I look at ZE infrastructure for both fleet and public facing underneath Port Talbot. So there's two sort of sets of challenges. The fleet itself, right, I can't give you 100% accurate, but I would say we've got about 300 vehicles. I don't know what the makeup of that is, but it's a mix obviously of cars, light vans, heavy commercials, refuse collection vehicles. Electric wise, we've probably got not that many, but probably 20 or so in total. Cars, small vans, electric refuse collection vehicle, which is reasonably new to fleet, and electric minibuses, an electric minibus, which is used by social services and schools. The biggest challenges we've got are net zero. How are we going to manage that, not just for transport, but across the whole estate and across the county? Funding it and internal resourcing it. How do we take on this huge challenge? So it's all well and good making ambitious statements. You've then got to deliver, and that's the challenge I'm facing.
Richard Jones, work for Cardiff County Council. We are currently the procurement and contracts manager. My name seems to change over the years, but yes, but historically purely fleet management and working for Cardiff Council's Central Transport Services. We've got about a 900 vehicle fleet and about another 400, 500 bits of plant and kit around the place. That's probably a hard one to tackle at the moment with electric solutions or low carbon solutions. We've got 85 vehicles at the moment, fully electric on the fleet. 12 of those are 26-ton refuse vehicles, because obviously they are big carbon emitters in the first place. It hasn't come without its challenges, which we're still kind of working through. There's still hurdles to get over, but we will get there.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tristan Painter. I'm a senior category specialist within Cardiff Council. I'm coming more from the procurement side of things, with my main category being fleet, hence why I'm here. But recently, Cardiff Council have taken on the procurements for Monmouthshire County Council, Torfaen Council, and the Vale of Glamorgan. So I'm here really just to understand what's going on in the industry, the opportunities, and any sort of information I could take back and bring to the councils. Obviously, Richard got the detail for Cardiff Council, but I'll see if I can amalgamate that with the other procurement I'm doing for the other councils as well, and obviously see what else is going on within Wales and South Wales especially. Yes. I noticed there's a lot of silo working. From what I've noticed, people doing the same types of projects but not speaking across each other. So I think the more information I can get, the better it is to try and bring it all together, which is easier said than done, I understand.
I'm Mark Barrow, I'm the corporate manager for the City of Kevin Swansea, the second city in Wales. I'm responsible for a fleet of about 980. We do all our maintenance in-house, and we have approximately 75 battery EVs and 15 hybrids on the fleet at the moment.
I'm Naomi. I've managed the fleet for Titarian Housing Association, which is literally a stone throw that way. We've got 115 vehicles altogether. We aimed to go 10% of our fleet electric last year, which we've just hit. We've got 21 electric cars and vans. They're all small vehicles, so we've got 5 electric pool cars, got a few Vauxhall combos, and we've got 6 Vauxhall Vivaroes. All our fleet is under 3.5 tonnes, so we've got no operator's licence, which is going to be part of the challenge of us going electric, because under 3.5 tonne is a real struggle with the weight of the batteries. We've got also issues we've got grounds maintenance teams towing, which is going to be a big issue for us as well, staying under 3.5 tonne. So we've aimed initially to go fully electric by 2025. The procurement was supposed to go out this year for more vans. We've still got very limited infrastructure, so we've rolled on the contract for another year. It's probably going to be 2 years, and then I think we'll probably see about 50% of them go electric within that time frame, and then we'll see how the infrastructure is as we go a bit. We could go electric. The vans are there, I think, really. It's just the infrastructure for us is a big struggle.
very much like colleagues, our issues are political aspiration and strategy against the tens of millions of pounds it's going to take us to bridge the funding gap between now and 2030. 2025 is also a red flag for us. We will not achieve it. It's unobtainable with the current supply chain and financing situation. But having said that, we're very positive about what we do, because I can't influence the supply chain. Public procurement is what it is, so it's learning from colleagues and understanding what's out there. That for me is the thing to drive and continue the momentum for me in the next couple of years.
And you're not the first person, so I can feel a theme coming out already that has said political aspirations are one thing, but the reality of delivering against funding constrictions and operational processes is...
Our friends in Cardiff Bay have set a deadline 10 years ahead of the UK.
Yeah.
Without the backing. And that's an incredibly difficult target to deliver on us mid-decade, plus a pandemic and plus a supply chain.
Can I ask you, you said you're not going to hit your 2025 target, and is that the same target, which is you're not going to procure anything other than EV?
Welsh Government's aspiration is all light commercials will be ULEV by 2025. That is something.
Existing vehicles?
Existing vehicles.
Okay,
That's their
so
aspiration.
that's fair enough, because you're not going to meet, you're not going to meet that one.
The supply chain disruption means we're probably 2 to 3 years behind in our procurement processes.
I am delighted to be joined by Steve Ward from Transport for Wales, who is going to give us an overview of what's happening in Wales in terms of strategy, projects, innovations, and anything else that you feel is relevant to the conversation.
Thanks very much, Kate. So, yeah, you probably think of Transport for Wales, I suppose, as the kind of real organisation. And we largely are. Most of our staff and most of our money is getting sucked into things like metro transformation projects in the core valley lines and so on. But we also do EV, and I'll take you on the journey. It started in 2018 when the Welsh Government kind of almost put a throwaway comment out about maybe we could do with some rapid charging in rural parts of Wales to kind of kickstart the EV transition, and also how hard can it be? It's something that surely should only take a few months to deliver. We're still delivering that project, which I think is very indicative of just how difficult that's been. And what it is putting in 50 kilowatt pairs of chargers in the most rural locations in Wales. Some of them are so rural we couldn't even find a car park within 20 miles. So we've used things like pub car parks. It's been really difficult. But what that will do, and it will get finished in the next 3 to 4 months, we'll have done all 18 sites. That will provide us with the same as Scotland and England have, which is on the trunk road network, at least every 20 miles for something like 98% of it, you will have a rapid charging pair. Like many other local authorities and national bodies, kind of reaching the same conclusion that it's not going to happen with the public sector. And in fact, the public sector actually really has quite a minor role in terms of delivery. It needs to be commercially driven, commercially led, because that's where we're seeing all the capital flooding into. There's tech billionaires all over the place doing startups every week in EV charging around the world, and it's certainly happening in this country as well. We've set up, I think, much closer working relationships with local authorities. I think, to be fair, we offer consultancy, advice, and in some cases project management back to the local authorities, because we're already funded to do all this. So everything I'm talking about that we do, we're giving away. We don't charge for any of these services. And with the local authorities, we've kind of built up a kind of package of support measures, I suppose. And whether that's kind of advice and guidance, so we've extended the Cenex Insights Toolkit and Knowledge Repository out to Wales and Welshified that. We're having events and sort of seminars and learning sessions about how to use those forecasts, how to use the toolkit. It's left us, I suppose, with what is our key role? Well, we think our key role is actually to bring people together and to share that learning and to work on shared problems across the public and private sector. So to do that, we've set up 2 key groups, both of which were actually in the Welsh Government strategy in 2021 anyway, so we're now kind of getting on with it. One is a group focused on charge point operators and what they need to work successfully with the public sector. So we'll be talking about things like, what is the commercial and contractual models So what commercial models are there on offer? What are the ones that are emerging? Contractual models, everything from procurement and who owns what, and it's all buttoned down, it's bought, versus at the other end of the spectrum, fully supplier funded models, and asking questions about whether that should actually be controlled by the planning system, as all other commercial development is managed, for example.
There's a real collaborative piece to be done, isn't there, between the fleet operators like Naomi, who have got guys who drive vans and take them home, and that's the way it's been. So you've influenced change and say, well, you can't take that home anymore, but that's unfair. They're going to take them home, but there's no charging at home. They could lose time, they could lose productivity because the van has to go on a charge point before they can go to work. But the local authority can play a role in reaching out to businesses like yours, operations like yours, and getting a feel for, well, where do these vans live? Your predecessor, we did a little bit of this, and I completely failed.
Well.
We did an overlap map of where do your vans go home, where do our vans go home, where's the touch points, and is anything we're doing likely to benefit you?
But I think the most exciting thing for us is that at this time last year, we were sat in a meeting with our ops board where we were talking about what's the next thing for Quartix, and we were asked as salespeople, what challenges are your customers facing? And without doubt, it's the transition to EV. We speak to customers and say, where are you on your EV challenge? And typically, most people's heads go in their hands and say, we know we've got to do it, but we don't know how. So we came up with a product called Evolve, and what's this allowing us to do is looking at the tracking data that says, where are your vehicles? What type of vehicle are they? Where are they going? What mileages are they doing? What's the infrastructure look like in the area that they're operating, to allow customers to have a clear understanding of how they can make a transition from an ICE vehicle to an EV. But the advantage of this is that the information that is provided through telematics is live. So it's not a case that somebody does a consultancy, passes you a report, and there it is, it's done. With this kind of technology, it's something that can be changed and moved around every single day. So really, as a business, we've gone from being the basics of tracking of where your vehicle is and what it's done, to not only where is it, what it's done, and is it being efficient, but has it got that ability to be able to help fleet managers around this table to say, yeah, I can make an informed decision as to what we want to do and how we want to do it to progress our vehicles from ICE to EV.
But that comes back to this cloud map.
Absolutely does.
I was gonna say,
and the data-driven element of it.
Yeah.
And then you bring in the.
I was about to say, then you bring in the tracking, which then shows you, which plots it for you, doesn't it?
Yes, and also depending whether you link into your building management systems or your energy management systems, you've got visibility then on the likely demand of those vehicles. Are they coming back with 3/4 of a battery, half a battery, quarter a battery? What am I likely to need to put in? That helps you then balance your load. So there's so many interconnects here.
We've got all this data. Now we need to understand whether or not we can make the move to EV. So 2 local councils are actually doing that with us at the moment, and that's RCT and Bridgend. They're both Bridgend are a very long-term customer, so they have an awful lot of data with us. Probably been operating our system now for probably close on 7 or 8 years, and RCT joined us literally a year and a half or so ago. But what we're doing for them is we're taking all of that data, and we're able to say, from the information we've got, we can tell you now that the average miles that you're doing per day are X, the operating area you are in is Y, and within that we can show you what the current public charge network looks like, and we can make informed decisions for you as to where you would need to bring in charge points. So going back to Richard's point, you'd probably be wanting to put those into council depots, because one of the challenges they have is they can't use the public network, because you don't want a council van parked outside, a public charge point for 3 or 4 hours, taking it away from the public. So what we've been doing for these 2 customers in particular is coming to them with an actual overview that says, look, based on the amount of vehicles you've got, we genuinely believe, based on the information we're pulling, X amount of these can transition to EV based on their mileages, their work patterns, and the locations that they're operating in. And those are 2 current live customers that are using it today. And typically we say to a customer, you want to really look at a year's worth of data, because that allows you to look at the seasonal changes as well. What's it doing in the winter? As an EV driver now, I understand the winter is far different to the summer in relation to your range and what you can do with it. So they're real life cases of customers. The advantage of us having the raw data from the vehicle means that we can do algorithms that will allow you to run any kind of report against the information that you're seeing. So we could be saying, for example, this vehicle here that, as you've rightly said, could be doing one long journey per week going to a location. We could also verify whether something else is doing a similar thing. Because at that point we had a customer that realised that they had certain vehicles doing certain longer journeys than others, and they were able to make one vehicle just deal with those longer journeys rather than it being going into different vehicle types. In fairness, this was a delivery company, so it made it quite simple in that you just make sure that the vehicles that have got to do the longer journey, I think they'll go from Birmingham to Manchester if I remember rightly. They had four or five different vehicles that were allocated to do that. Well, why don't you just put it in one and have that vehicle do it? So instead of that one going on a Monday and that going on a Tuesday, you just have one vehicle that does that all the time. It's almost like a trunking vehicle.
On an annual basis, we always look to reduce fleet, because that's the first thing, is reduce the fleet, save funding. So yeah, we have used it for fleet utilisation. Not that that's plugging your EV bit, sorry.
No.
But standard, we use the standard system for the fleet utilisation out in general. But it is useful to me when we're moving to an EV fleet, because the one thing we definitely get in authorities, we get some areas, some people that are very enthusiastic and want to be green, but it is a hard transition for the transport department to influence the whole of the council when there are so many departments, and so part of the thing for us with the tracking system is being able to see, and as you were saying about Max, yes, we look at the average mileage, but it will also give us the maximum on any one day or the minimum, and a lot of the time there's a lot of people, I believe, that think they do a lot more in their daily routine
That's very
than they do,
polite of you.
and normally we can point out, no, you don't.
We had our fastest driver on the fleet, shall I say, has been handed an EV, and he's one of them was the highest mileage, and he drives like a snail now. It's brilliant.
Really?
Because he knows if he doesn't, he's got to be in the office all the time to charge.
But in relation to the actual EV, and for example in my car at the moment, we're just doing the prototypes on that will actually be able to report back to you what the current range is, what the battery strength is, and when it was last charged, and that will be a product that will be coming onto the market hopefully towards the end of this year.
Plug Me In company you probably won't have heard of. It's been in existence for 2 years. It was set up predominantly using the wider businesses workforce. So I'll just talk about them first. Company that owns us is called Callison. They're a asset ownership business owned by BlackRock, Mubadala and Goldman Sachs. They, over the last 10 years, have installed 12 million smart meters in people's homes. And what they're trying to do is enable smarter energy for all. They own all of those smart meters. We're an asset ownership business, and they work with 50% of the big energy companies across the UK. They born Plug Me In to try and have an adjacency that was going to help that transition towards smarter energy, and we can lean into the wider business. So we've got 1,200 people around the country that go and fit smart meters or do data reading for smart meters. And where that's really helped us is we started with on our journey installing home charging, and we utilised that workforce to go and do a physical site survey in people's houses so that you can gather all of the information and get an understanding of what is required immediately. That may sound super simple, but I can tell you when I worked for one of the largest home charging installers in the UK, I had a team of 30 people just on the phone all day, trawling through emails and trying to work out the art of the possible, and it was extremely painful. Now I don't have any department to look after that because our team go and do all the investigation at people's houses. So from that we can then install really easily. We are really also lucky because we're a smart meter operator. We're allowed to pull the main fuse on properties, so we can do the installation from the meter cupboard outside. We don't have to touch any of the infrastructure of the property. There's very few companies that can do that. So we're very, very lucky to be able to make that transition for a fleet super simple. We don't ask you to get your fleet driver to speak to the energy provider or the DNO to try and get an isolation switch installed. I often find my role feels to be quite almost a negative salesperson. are you sure that this is what you want? Because I don't think this is what you need. And actually we can do this in a much more affordable way. We can bring it and use it much quicker because we haven't got lots of infrastructural stuff that we're trying to do. But we can make sure that whatever we put in is enabled to take that additional stuff as and when you're ready for it.
We've got, from COVID, we saw a lot of our fleet suddenly start going home, and we already had sections of the fleet that work from home. And I think over time the council has reduced the amount of assets it has and available parking areas. So yeah, we're running a pilot following Leeds, Oxford, and who obviously have put home chargers in. And it's about the bit of how then you reimburse the guys and so forth. But the various companies we're speaking to do a charge card which cover up to kind of 14 different companies, but they still are a bit hit and miss with,
That's interesting, yeah.
The reality though is, and I'm talking for fleets here, right? So please pick me up on this. Is my belief is you don't want to use public network. It's unreliable. You don't want to be putting your vehicles in front of people that want to charge their public vehicles on the public network.
You put them off road.
It's more expensive. So realistically, yes, it should be used, but I would always use it as, not your go-to position for charging your fleet. But commercially, if we can get income coming from that, then that just gives us the certainty of utilisation on the fleet hub, but also the ability for people to use that charging infrastructure without blocking it, and conversely, without fleets blocking public charging. So, but that's about right place, right time, right energy availability. So there's a lot of moving pieces there, but that should be what we're thinking about.
I think that's been part of the issue with the transition, is that as fleet manager, I'm not an electrician.
Yeah.
So you go into a meeting about charging with people who do know about charging, and then they sell you something that sounds great on paper, you put it in and it doesn't do anything that you expect it to, isn't it? So it's been quite a challenge.
We are working on at the moment expanding our fleet up to 24 electric HGVs. But obviously power consumption and another part of it is working on we kind of need smart depots that take in the energy of the buildings, the solar, the PV, battery storage. So the move for us is to bring a large section of that fleet off the grid. So to be self-sufficient, but also to give us the capacity for resilience for if there are power outages or anything else, because we still at the moment have the luxury of obviously using a fuel tank. If we got to keep that vehicle on the road, it's not so simple when you lose your power supply. So yeah, there's definite resilience got to be built in as the fleet expands. Otherwise we are going to find ourselves in sticky positions to the daily business. But so a part of that as well is also connecting up across Wales. So one is, as most places have, obviously when they design and build depots, infrastructure, it's designed at a cost and it's designed with certain capacity, so capacity is an issue. Yeah. When we first embarked on this, I think the engineers we dealt with, the first thing they wanted to do was bring new power supplies in, have it completely separate to buildings, and as things have moved on, because obviously there's a big cost to that and an ongoing cost to additional power, is to first of all look at obviously using the power available to us, but obviously in a much smarter way. And currently at the moment we've got the issue of a lot of the charging companies are a bit obsessed with charging things as quickly as they can, which doesn't make good if you've got a large capacity of vehicles. So the one thing we need is a depot management system whereby it does almost like a fuse saver system where it monitors the income of the whole building and we can manage the actual overall charging. So there is a much bigger picture.
Something that's absolutely key to us is we have skills gaps, we have knowledge gaps. We come from fleet management backgrounds, engineering backgrounds. I'm not an electrical engineer, I don't need to begin to purport to understand a lot of it. So roundtables like this are critical to me for knowledge transfer. I think that's the key at the moment, because I can't influence the supply chain.
We've got a low carbon cement minerals business there. we recognised that there was a need for renewables within the business itself, because we wanted to get down to zero carbon as much as we possibly could. I'm told we're something like minus 200,000 tonne of carbon at the moment. I'll explain that. We've got a 13 megawatt export connection onto the grid. We're able to produce 16 megawatts of renewable power. So we've got a 1.5 megawatt wind turbine, we've got a 3.6 megawatt wind turbine, we've got 4 megawatt Tesla battery on site. We also have 3/4 megawatt of solar panels on site. We've got an anaerobic digester, it's 3.2 megawatt. With that, we take in food waste. As a business, we're very, very keen to demonstrate and enable others to get along that path of renewables. The battery is a 4 megawatt Tesla battery system there. That is doing frequency response at the moment, so that's keeping the grid at 50 hertz there.
For instance, we had 75 kilowatt chargers put in, which, yes, whilst can charge a refuse vehicle quite quickly, the truth is 20 kilowatts is adequate to charge it overnight, and obviously then you can make the most of our supply that's there.
I've kind of taken the conversation up a level. You know, for me, this really is about the role of the fleet manager is changing, and it's as much as anything, it's about energy procurement and strategies for utilising grid connections. And you know, I wrote a report 4 years ago, which was looking at with EV charging infrastructure. There's an awful lot of focus on what land are we going to get? Where are we going to put these? You know, geographically, what's the decision in terms of where we put them? And at the time, my question was we should be looking at where the power is and siting the charge points close to the power, not choosing a spot of land and then worrying about how you're going to get the power to it. We have run out of time. I would like to thank each and every one of you for your input today. Real mixed bag of thoughts and experiences, which makes my job quite easy when it comes to writing it up. So, and thank you for talking openly and giving me the benefit of your experience.
Thank you.
Thank you, of course, to Quartix. Thank you, of course, to Plug Me In, yeah. And not least of which, thank you to Nigel, who has arranged the hosting for today and the wonderful lunch and refreshments. And what a pleasure to be in Port Talbot.